Hello and welcome to episode 15 of our Timberborn Update 7 Folktails Hard Mode playthrough here in Cycle 21, Day 2. Last time we got this area set up with some metal processing, but we didn't have the mine quite finished. We did pause this so that we could make sure that everything else got built, but it's time to go ahead and unpause the construction of this bad boy and get that thing up and running fully, because we are now out of scrap metal over here, which means these two scavenger flags can be removed, and make sure that this is no longer set to supply. We can just kind of leave that as extra storage, because it is accessible on the zipline network, and we aren't currently doing anything else with this area over here, so there's no real reason to get rid of it, but it is important to make sure that's not set to one of these other things, or else it's just going to complicate stuff. So other stuff that we've done recently, I got this area actually operating, making a pretty prodigious quantity of logs for us. And yes, those of you who are clamoring for a second level, maybe at some point in the future, but right now it's just completely unnecessary. But I do like the idea. I think that's kind of cool. So we're going to let them continue working on this mine in the background, because of course we do have to have lots of metal blocks so that we can continue working on this mess right here. And there's a lot to discuss about this. We made a lot of changes within the same episode even to this design last time, and yet again I am filled with a mixture of regret and also kind of funny to let you guys know that I've made a mistake again with how these platforms are laid out, because you know, if we're gonna have irrigation, we have to have the ground actually touching. So we gotta rip it all out again. Just rip that band-aid off real quick, and I'll show you what I was supposed to do. A number of you, and I mean a lot of you guys, caught this in the comments and like, I can't believe you did it again. Well, you know, sometimes that's just the way it goes. But all we got to do is just pop in. I didn't want to build that way. I wanted to build that the other way. But yeah, we just got to get this popped in so everything can get built correctly. And that shouldn't end up taking too much time. But now that we've caught it, we don't have to worry about doing it again. We're just going to make sure that this area in the center is taken care of as well on the second level. Because you know we're going to end up needing to have this at some point, and I'd much rather just have it ready to go before that becomes an issue. So today's goal is going to be to start growing stuff here, and I know we've talked about this a number of times, but we got to make a decision here, because something interesting was brought up in the comments last episode. A couple people said, why aren't you using dirt underneath these? Well, okay, well, I have the terrain things up here, but why aren't you using dirt underneath your 5x5s? And that's a really good question, so I figured we could talk about it. I think, I haven't tested this, but I think I'm going to want to have the platforms for the sake of farmhouse range, because the terrain creates an obstacle in terms of range. Let's see if I can find a good place to demonstrate this. Like you see right here, we have our tapper's shack, and anything on the same level obviously is going to be available in a specific radius. Anything on a lower level or higher level is going to be affected based on however the game decides to draw the lines with respect to elevation changes. But you see, we got these things here that are sticking up. If we had extra land on this side, you would see the range really decrease because of something being directly in the way that is impassable, versus, you know, just the platform. You can just walk right under it, so it's basically like it doesn't exist in terms of pathfinding. So that was my thought process with that. I of course could be wrong. I frequently am, but I figured I'd much rather just build it this way, since there's not really any drawback to doing it like that, versus just putting it in with the dirt, because of course the irrigation is going to make its way across no matter what, as long as all the ground is connected. And even if the goal was going to be to have irrigation go between level to level by having the dirt blocks supporting just for the sake of example here, supporting something like that. Well, you know, this is made of metal. It's not made of dirt, so that's not going to matter. So hopefully we can have some sort of agreement, understanding that that's actually a smart way to be doing this. And that's how I'm going to keep going about it. But yeah, we definitely have to have this actually touching the rest of these. So that was a very good catch. We can go ahead and, you know, still have the actual paths connecting all four corners here. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure that everything is still going to be connected for irrigation purposes. And we do still have a little bit of blasting to do here. The dynamite is kind of a slow process now that we've used all of our reserves. We got these two guys producing about as much as they can, but we did kind of run out at the end of the last episode because we had nothing going on here. And that's kind of part of the reason why I built this bad water rig for the future, for us to be able to harvest stuff and so on and so forth. But currently we don't really need it. How are we doing here? All right, good. Just waiting on some gears. Those are being made. Unfortunately, it is a slow process because we've been using those for other things as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I know we have some beavers who are incapacitated, artificially lowering our workforce, but I'm going to turn these two gear workshops on. And I believe these builder huts, just make sure, yeah, okay. That one's been completely taken out. These are all set fine. Cool. Yeah, I can live with that. So we, of course, are going to continue working on all of these things as we have the metal. Remember, each of these big platforms is 90 units. So I think it might end up being a little bit of a smarter choice to build out from the center as we have the ability to supply these platforms versus just one level at a time. Because, you know, the end goal is to have a multi-level farm. And, you know, we're never going to get there super fast if we don't just do it. So, we have plenty of dirt, and we probably should have another storage over here for that. So let's go ahead and make sure this is just slightly out of range, which it might not be long-term, but this is going to have to work well enough for what we're doing right now. Let's just put that in there, get that brought up. So we can have plenty of dirt ready to go. This guy needs to be set to supply. That needs to be set to prioritized. And then as soon as this gets built, we do have to prioritize that as well. But yeah, I'm going to try my very best to get this up and running to at least some degree with multi-level farming before we are finished with today's episode. Still plenty of stuff to get done, though, so don't worry. There's going to be a decent amount of variety and other stuff happening here. Now, we have a bad tide coming in 3 days. Let's go ahead and just pause, check where we are. So the reservoir is full. We have 3 more days, and our water storage is also full, which kind of creates a problem because now we have nowhere else to put any of the water that we're pumping, and any of the rest of this is just running out as waste. Also, we have this area here that is going to turn into a gushing torrent of nastiness. So, we haven't planted any crops here yet, but that is going to become an issue, and we will need to address it before we get too far along. This area here is pretty close, and this area here is close as well. So let's take a look at where our water is coming from, and we can kind of prevent a lot of our problems by doing a few simple modifications, I think. We already have path right here. All of this water, as far as I can tell, is just coming from here. So, if we go ahead and we just put in a couple of levees, remember, the flow is not going to increase at all during a bad tide. It stays the same. So all we've got to do is just block this off. 4 levees should be a very, very simple thing. Just put these in like so. Super prioritize all of this. They should be able to build that pretty quickly. And that is going to... actually... we have technology. We have technology. Let's put one of these in as a sluice, and we're going to close it above contamination. And just untick that, because that should never be ticked by default. So we can still let good water in, and that will, of course, be helpful as we continue moving around. But this, for right now, is just a temporary, hi, please don't turn this into poison nasty solution. So we'll let them take care of that. And then I know this area here is going to continue to be blasted out, and it's probably going to reach about right here. But we do have the opportunity to mount a very simple defense in terms of getting bad water to not quite affect us as much. And I think probably what's going to make the most sense, we take a look at our landscaping. The contamination barrier is just a single metal block and 5 planks. It used to be treated planks, or one of those was treated planks. I don't know, I could be just mixing everything up because it seems like all I do anymore is play the beaver game. But if I go ahead and put in just a couple of contamination barriers in convenient locations to the point of, you know, just generally protecting this stuff without, you know, not making too huge of an investment. We just want to make a little bit of something right now that we know they can probably do while we are working on solving the rest of these problems. So what that's going to entail is getting this blockage removed as well. And then we're going to have to get this out of here. And then I'm going to have a staircase come in right here. And then we're going to have to go up again right here. Should be a pretty simple process. And I think, yeah, they're already making some nice progress on this. Remember, we have 2 days, so that's fine. The reason I haven't built any additional large tanks is because I don't have the gears for one. But we do still need to have additional storage. Unfortunately, the medium tanks do require gears as well. But I think I can justify where we are right now. Just for the sake of getting something accomplished, I'm going to go ahead and put a large tank here. And they can start building it. Remember that we do still have 1.8 days. I don't think they're going to get this finished. But if we have the capacity and we have a long bad tide, we definitely want to make sure that we have enough water to irrigate stuff. That's going to keep our trees alive and our crops alive. We do have this irrigation station here, and we have this over here. What we don't have is a fail-safe to protect our aquatic crops. And this has been an issue a couple times. And we're going to want to do something about it because, remember, we're pumping water out of our aquatic farm reservoir. And that does create some problems that are not really that simple to solve. The easiest thing to do would be to remove the water pumps from here and just say, you know what, we're going to put them somewhere else. But I think long term, it's going to make more sense to just stop pumping from our reservoir that we're also growing crops in. And that is probably going to end up meaning that we have to have a separate aquatic farm with its own water dump system, so on and so forth, everything set up so that it's not going to have any negative effects on anything. But that is a project most likely for another day, as I think it's going to be a little bit more important for us to focus on diverting bad water, bad tides, or at least protecting against them for our big multi-level farming project. And this is going to be a huge help, keeping this clean. Obviously, diversion up here would be better, but we don't have the time for that. And it seems these guys are not going to do this. I didn't have that one super prioritized. That's exactly what happened. All right, well, that's annoying. But this is something that we can do, you know, at any point in time, and it's going to have the same effect, so that's totally okay. Now I just need to get this sluice set up here. And I'm hopeful that they're going to be able to get that done pretty quickly. We do only have half a day, but I think it's not going to be an issue. Just let them do what they got to do. Yeah, there's no chance this was going to get finished. Oh, it's fine. It is what it is. Well, what I'm going to go ahead and do to try and protect our aquatic farm is I'm going to turn off all of the water pumps. One, you know, we've got so many job vacancies because of how we have stuff set up, and we have so many injuries that is only going to help us. And two, you know, if you're not pumping, it's not going away, and we have a basically full water storage. We can turn it on whenever we need to based on that. This this still isn't done, really? Come on, man. You had one job. You had one job. Can they get this finished? It's just 4 logs and a builder thing. That's before we unpause. Okay, that's all the way down. That's all the way down. Okay. So we ended up having a problem here. All right. Before they go to work. Pause. I do still need the dirt. I can't really get away with pausing that. I already paused those. What else is not a necessary job function? I've got my hauling posts are fine. See, I don't know where all my I don't know where all my beavers went. Or did I just have a mass die-off? Not really. Huh. Well, I think it's important enough for us to get this finished where I can just go ahead and super prioritize the builder's hut as a workplace. And they can get this taken care of, because we're going to have a little bit of nasty water in here. I mean, it's going to evaporate anyway, but I'd like to avoid having the whole thing be completely full. So away we go. 24-day bad tide. How long is it going to take for them to get this done? See, it's already poisoned. Okay, well. We can at least prevent complete and total disaster by getting this finished. There we go. So, that obviously is closed. This obviously is doing what it does best. We do have a lack of water occurring here because this is now nasty water. We knew that was going to be a thing. Not the end of the world. Obviously, they haven't finished this yet, which is going to end up causing some problems in the very near future. But, you know, nothing too terrible. Like I said, this is going to evaporate pretty quick. I just didn't want it to fill up. And I can't even get low enough, because of this being the bottom of the map, I can't even get low enough to show you guys how thick this is, but it's not at all. Not at all. So I can pretty safely maximum deprioritize this guy. That's fine. This is still working nicely. Ah, they went to work in the mine. That's what happened. That's what happened. Okay. Well, that is understandable. And also, this mine is a massive, massive, massive injury generator. So that has caused all sorts of fun problems for us. I'm sure it will only continue to do so. Well, let's go ahead and get this double dynamite popped in here, because we got to get this blasted out so we can start actually stacking multi-level stuff here. I'm going to unpause these things here. I do only have 265, so I'm only going to do a couple of these at a time. But we need to make some actual progress on this. And I'm going to go ahead, blast from this side, just so we don't have any curious beavers finding out the hard way. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, now that goes away, which means we have to have access some other way. Easy thing to do is just pop in one of those right there until we have some other concept of what's going to be happening here. Just got to keep on keeping on. Bring our materials in. This still isn't connected because I disconnected that, but that's going to be fine. They're going to put in all of this stuff. Some genius came in here and oriented the terrain blocks a specific way, which means they're not going to get built on top of the first metal platform to be constructed until the second metal platform is constructed and all of its stuff is built. So that was not one of my finer moments. That's fine. We'll be all right. Life goes on. So other stuff that you guys mentioned in the comments of the last video, since this is going to take a little bit of time, we do have this gravity battery that has been just sitting here at the mercy of the at the mercy of these dynamite things that are just sitting here. So it didn't have the capacity that the other ones did. This only has 10,000 now. The others got 24. And then these have 26 because I blasted that out. But we're going to be continuing to fix that if we have the power needs to require that. And we also need to put gravity batteries over here. And a couple different ideas were posited for that. Presently, though, you know, we're making a pretty good amount of power because we do have the water wheel, and it is a bad tide, so the only time we'd actually have to have gravity batteries over here is during a drought. which means that I have at least another 25 days to think of a solution of where I want to put those guys. But remember what we talked about, building or rebuilding the castle walls in some of these areas? So I think we want to have these new gravity batteries put in the spirit of that, which I think makes the most sense to have it kind of going down into this channel a little bit. So we do have these large windmills that are going to have the ability to send power. Well, I guess because of the way these are put in here and we have these natural overhangs, I don't want to get rid of. We'd have to bring it up this way and then hook it into something. But that's something we can look at a later date and time, because we have so many other things that we need to get accomplished today. So, seeing where we are now, we know this is a thing that takes a super long time. And now that we have the mine that is an incredible injury generator, we need to increase our number of beavers, which is going to mean more suburban sprawl beaver style, and more stuff that's going to enable the beavers to be happier and healthier. And I think one of the easy ways to accomplish some of those goals is going to be to put in some more recreation. We talked about this before, but this area up here is primed and ready for a dance hall, and I think that would be kind of a fun addition to put up there. And I'm going to say probably should go in this direction. Just get that unlocked. They'll build this as time goes by. We have the treated planks. We have metal blocks currently, kind of. But, you know, it's never a bad idea to increase this number here, the well-being, because given random beaver A here, they have a debuff on their working speed because they're hungry. Well, that's not something we can really fix unless they decide to go eat. But when they get to well-being, just say well-being 15 overall, they go from having a plus 20 to a plus 40% boost on the working speed. And you know, the well-being of the rest of these beavers is even higher than that. So if you click on another beaver, so this one right here, whose well-being is 22, they got a plus 60 because that's what the 20 is. And if they get to 25, it's a plus 80. And then, of course, you have movement speed as well at the 2s. So the average well-being being 23 is pretty good. If everyone was at 23, then everybody would have that plus 30% movement speed. And if everyone was at 27, they'd have a plus 60% life expectancy, which is a really good thing with the Folktails because there's not a method to breed these guys that makes them not ever be children, unlike the Iron Teeth with the advanced breeding pods. So if we can have the beavers live longer, happier lives, then productivity goes way up. What a concept, huh? For right now, though, we do need to kind of offset all of these injuries by putting in additional medical beds, and this is a perfect place to pop in another 3, and I'll put another 4 in there. I do know that we have 18 incapacitated, and we don't, to the best of my knowledge, have enough medical beds. Oh, we actually have 18, including the ones we're about to build, so I guess that ends up working out fine. But like I said, gotta have some more beavers, so I'm going to put in 2 more of these lodges, and that can be something relatively easily fixed. And you know our favorite technique here of putting in different decorative things like the 1x1 roofing, and then shrubs and all that stuff, just to give these guys a nice bonus a little bit. Get stuff taken care of. Yeah, progress on this is just absolutely incredibly slow. But, oh, they can build from the side. Never mind. Never mind. We're looking a lot better. A whole lot better. How are we doing here? Still getting scrap metal every 1.8 hours. We get 5 if we have 8 beavers. This, obviously, when we have 10, will be slightly faster. But we got to make sure we have enough here ready to go with these smelter guys. And now that we no longer have to worry about whatever, I can put the builder sets back down to a more normal prioritization, and we can have all the beavers go back to their other jobs. Like the smelters, which we desperately need the beavers to be doing. So it all comes in due time. And since we only have 19 days left, I don't think we're going to have to really worry about these crops drying out. And we also don't want to run out of water. So I am going to have a single pump going. I know that's not going to be enough, but it will kind of stem the tide, so to speak. And we can continue working on adding additional capacity, which is what this large tank's purpose was in the first place. But I'm really, really excited to get to this multi-level farming. And I'm not entirely sure how many levels I want or need this to have. But I think what we're going to need to end up doing is just decide, okay, we can start with, say, 3 levels, which is what the infrastructure in the center has built out to accommodate. And if we want to in the future, we can put more in, and I think that's going to have to be good enough for right now. So, let's blast out these 3 in the center. They'll do that eventually, and then we'll have to build a second level here. But as soon as this gets any water in it at all, then all of this should be irrigated, and we'll have a very, very nice thing to look at. Now, of course, that will take time, but we do have 100-some explosives ready to go. So I don't expect that to be a tremendously long process. Just something that we're going to have to continue working on as we get more metal, to put more stuff in, and think about how we want stuff to be distributed. Thankfully, we do have the new layer tool, which will really, really help out when we get everything else set up. But for right now, we do just kind of have to let them do what they're going to be doing. As we continue to get more beavers and replace the incapacitated ones, so on and so forth, and make a slow progression toward eventually having bots which will remove almost all of our problems forever. But yes, lots and lots of stuff to consider, lots and lots of stuff to keep in the back of our mind as we continue going about our business. Now, obviously, during a bad tide, this isn't really a huge issue because we do have all of the water coming through these, generating a pretty hefty amount, and the windmills seem to be pretty happy as of late. So, that's a good problem to have. Everything else is looking pretty good. Honestly, we still need more maple pastries, but that's something that's just going to have to get solved in due time with the help of better logistics. We probably could prioritize these things here. Not the cattail crackers are probably fine. And of course, bread's always fine. But prioritizing the maple pastries, I'm going to see if that makes a huge difference. Because honestly, at this point, it just kind of seems like a throughput of the facility issue and not a supply issue, considering we have 638 maple syrup. And while we don't have a ton of wheat flour, this building is not empty of it. And I know we still need to have more wheat, and that was going to be something we do over here. And I've said it for like a bunch of different episodes. So I probably should actually just, do it. But we find ourselves now with a ridiculous 20% of our entire beaver population incapacitated because of the mine, which we do unfortunately still have to keep going with. That's the price of progress, I suppose. Although if we take a look at how much we're actually going to consume... Oh, there's nobody even in here because everybody's injured. So every 2 hours, 18-hour working day, so that's 9 times. We got 18... Well, I could have just done that. 18 here, 18 here, 18 here. So we're going to have per day probably about as much as we're pulling out of this, which is unfortunate. But I was just trying to see if I could reduce the amount of beavers working in the mine, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, because now we got 32 vacancies, 27. How is it this injury prone, man? How is it possible? That just doesn't make sense. All right. I think now we're having an issue where all of our builders are dead because they worked in the mine. So, well, not literally dead. Let's just pause the mine, stem the suffering a tiny bit, get some beavers back into the builders' huts, or at the very least, these 4 guys here can take care of that. Build the other housing so we can get more beavers to offset the amount that are injured, and just keep on moving about our business here. I'm going to prioritize this dynamite because I really want to have this actually functioning, even if it's not perfect. Because I'm saying it for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes now. The people demand vertical farming, and they will get it. Just as soon as the remaining healthy beavers are able to actually get something accomplished. Yeah, see, this is why I didn't put the wheat here yet. It's because it just immediately goes away. The irrigation has to be solved at some point. We will get there. Not going to be that big of an issue. Although I do think the amount of potatoes we have is tremendous. Tremendous to the point of me just unplanting a bunch of these and replacing them with wheat. Probably one of the easiest things to do is just plant more wheat. I can do it here. I can do it here. And I don't want to plant up here because I know that's what the vertical farm is for. But in the meantime, any amount of extra space we can utilize that actually makes sense to do so is going to be a good thing for us here. They did finally get these contamination barriers in place, so that's going to protect this little corner here. Ready to dynamite. Now we have to decide which direction our stuff is going to be facing. I think it makes the most sense to put this going this way. So, what goes on top, you might ask? Well, that's a deep subject. We don't have to have the farms over the top of this, and I think the smartest thing for us to do is going to be to put one of these zipline stations up here. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this bit here be a zipline station. Very, very easy. And then, well, I suppose we have a fluid dump right here. And for the sake of continuity of irrigation, we'll just put a small water tank up here at the top. And what that's going to allow us to do is, I guess, I'm very curious what the distance is going to be between here and here. It might be slightly too much, but, you know, that's why this pylon is not going to be removed. I'm just curious. Once this gets built, we can check and see. Connection-wise here, okay, it's 33 too far to there, 35 to there. Yeah, so we will need to keep this, and we'll need to put another one to get that connected that way. This is 36. But yeah, long term, this just makes the most sense to have the zipline station on the farm. If it gets any taller, or we have a need to make it taller, then we'll just take it out and build the thing up another 3 blocks and build it back in. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing. But for the benefit of actually getting stuff up and running, even if it isn't the most beautiful thing we've ever done, I am going to go ahead and put in a pylon here so we can have that routed appropriately. Just go ahead and get that set there. And then, of course, once this is actually built, I can disconnect this, and that will solve a lot of problems. That is in range. Good. Alrighty. So that's looking nice. This is still paused. We have 162 scrap metal, so that's looking okay. We have the extra housing. We do have 13 kits, although the game never calls them that. This is... wow, okay. Actually getting pretty close to being finished. So that's good. That'll be a nice well-being boost. Our injured beavers can decide they want to be finished being injured, and then they can get back to work. I know that's not really how that works. But that's a good improvement. Progress continues, so on, so forth. So yes, friends, it is that time once again where we enter time-lapse mode and try to get a bunch of stuff accomplished. This one I'm not going to make too terribly long, but there are still a few things I want to take care of. And I'm not going to sit here and just banter about with myself while we're waiting for that to happen. I'll save you the grief. And next time you hear from me in real time, we'll be starting to grow crops in our very, very small, very, very ineffective, but technically existing vertical crop farm. Alright, so time-lapse successful. We have a higher well-being than ever, and we have a zipline station, and we have irrigation all the way through this whole thing, and that is fantastic stuff. So let's go ahead, just for the sake of, you know, making sure the beavers don't do anything unsafe, disconnect the zip line instead of deleting this, and make sure nobody is stranded anywhere. It looks like we're fine. Get this hooked up here, get that hooked up there, and then get that guy hooked up there. So now everything's got to go through the farming area, and that'll also help construction stuff go a little bit quicker. But now, as promised, we do have to start actually growing crops. So let's peel this back all the way down to the bottom level of the map, which this is the bottom level. We got a bunch of stuff on the ground. These planks have nowhere to go, but those will get picked up eventually. Let's go ahead and put in our farmhouse. like I said, we're going to get popped in just like so. It doesn't really matter what corner these go on, so I'm just going to arbitrarily choose this one. And I'm going to go ahead and say this pathway here is going to have to go away. I think from this ring of paths here, they should be able to reach just about everything. And if not, we will adjust accordingly. So let's just go ahead and get that taken care of. For right now, this does have to be connected to the outside for the sake of my personal sanity. So this is all connected here. But we'll go ahead and get this farmhouse built, and I'm going to start growing wheat because that is what we need. Very, very simply, just put this area in underneath everything we've already got built. I mean, we could keep growing a whole lot more, but for right now that should be fine. Get this peeled back. Thank you, spacebar, for being weird. And I do want to continue putting in additional of these metal platforms, but we ran out of scrap metal, so these guys have nothing to do. Now that the beavers seem to have kind of recovered from injury a little bit, I think we can turn this back on. Get these guys in here, because we do have to have additional scrap metal. And, I mean, we've got some right here that we also should be harvesting. But we do need to have the mine operating. Long term, there's not really that much scrap metal left on the map outside of what is currently inaccessible. And even then, this is basically it. So, you know, you got to rip the Band-Aid off sooner rather than later. Just let it be what it's going to be. We talked a couple episodes back about building these, what are these called? Zip lines. There you go. Building the zipline stations around the map before we need them. And I really do like that idea, and I would like to keep ahead of stuff, but we do have a little bit of a problem with our wheat that we do need to resolve, which we are thankfully able to start doing with the help of our efficient farmhouses. And I think that is going to be a tremendous help. And we'll continue working on stuff as we keep going. But we have 7 days left in our bad tide. I did turn the pumps back on during the time lapse because our numbers of water were getting not dangerously low, but to the point where it was going to be a problem if I didn't turn them back on. We do have the extra capacity from this large tank, so it is now 5,000. Very, very good there. And we do need to continue to have additional capacity just as soon as we have the resources. But metal has become a little bit of a problem because we didn't really plan that great. Now we have all these injured beavers, and it's only going to get worse. Like, look at this. Look at this. We already have 9 incapacitated, up from 7. And it's only going to get worse. But that's just the way it goes. I do have somebody scavenging this scrap metal, which I should have done a lot sooner, but you know how it goes. Just the way it is. But we do have all of this wheat growing, and if we click on, if I can actually click on, this farmhouse can actually reach up here too, which is really, really fun. I don't know how much it's going to be able to reach when this is fully expanded out, but, you know, since we have it available, let's take a look at the rest of our crops, what we're lacking. Honestly, it's really just the wheat. Because everything else we've managed pretty well. The aquatic crops are a different story entirely. So this could be a good opportunity, since we don't have a ton of sunflower seeds, to just go ahead and plant sunflowers. No reason not to. They will take time to grow, and the farmers do need to have other stuff to accomplish. I don't know about the farming capacity in terms of the, you know, throughput of materials of a single farmhouse, but I do think it's pretty cool that one of these is going to be able to do multiple levels in the same range. It would be really funny, and I think a couple of you might have even commented to this effect, but it would be really funny if a single farmhouse would be able to technically, not logistically, but technically access every single level in the entire range of all of this. That would be very, very funny. But yeah, we are again at that point where we can't really do too much else without having more metal, which of course is a process that just takes time. So, you know, it is what it is. We just got to keep on doing what we're doing. So, bad water diversion should be a pretty big topic of discussion moving into the next episode up here. It's not going to be a hard thing. We just have to be able to come in here and probably just blast a hole toward the end of the map and just let that be what it's going to be. But we are going to have to get up there, which is going to require a little bit of construction. And not really a big deal. We already have this right here. It would be pretty simple to just come over and put in a big, tall ladder structure here. Or we could come up from this side. Actually, might be a little bit easier. Yeah, because we have the zipline station here. I don't know why I didn't think to just do that the first time, but we'll go ahead and get that set up. No reason not to, like I typically say. Just bring that like so. Connected there. And then, yeah, I think the easiest, most peaceful way to accomplish this will be to just blast this whole thing to smithereens. And I think, yeah, if I put a what do you call it? Yep, technical term. Sluices. Sluices. There you go. My 6th grade English teacher is absolutely just losing her mind right now, and she has no idea why. But we'll go ahead and get this situated. Put in a staircase there so we can reach that single piece right. Thank you, autosave. Reach that single piece right there. Shouldn't be an issue. Get that blasted down, and then over here, probably going to have a super simple, easy time. Like, this is not a tremendously powerful water source. Yeah, two. So, we don't even really need more than one sluice, but as always, I am perpetually terrified of making a horrible mistake in my ignorance, and I'm going to choose to do things the hard way, or at least the slightly less easy way, if it means 100% guaranteed proof that no bad water will ever overflow through this mess, ever again. So, where does that leave us? We have 65 metal blocks. That is not quite enough for us to put in another 5x5 platform, but it is enough for us to continue increasing our water storage capacity, which at the moment is probably the more pressing need as we continue getting further into these long cycles and continue growing our beaver population. So, for the sake of things looking a little bit nicer, I guess I'll just put that there. Again, this storage is here because this is where the pumps are. This storage here really needs to be prioritized for storage that's accessible by the beavers, so we can have the haulers take care of that. I can't believe I didn't have that already set that way. That's very, I guess it shouldn't be that surprising, but it is a little bit, since I wasn't really thinking about it. Alright. 4.2 days left in the bad tide. The water levels here are still looking okay. I don't want to dry out my crops again. That seems to happen quite a lot. So that's something we need to keep our eyes on. And long term, we do need more capacity in this reservoir. That's really the only way we're going to solve that problem. A couple people said we should just blast into this hole, which, that would be kind of cool. But I think we're going to be better served just continuing to increase our capacity within the space we already have. I don't want to blast this deeper than this outlet because, well, this isn't deeper, and that's going to just cause issues. This is already, well, this is already the lowest possible level on the map. This is just one level up from that. I'm not really going to be that concerned about it. So I think what's going to make the most sense is continuing to get this blasted out a little bit. And, this no longer has to be a wheat farm because now we have this. So we can do something else with this over here. If we wanted to, we could just turn this into a another little aquatic farm, or that could even be the start of what we were talking about before, where we had the aquatic farm completely decoupled from the drinking reservoir. Wouldn't be a terrible way to do it, because, it does have to have the dirt bottom, and we could just continue getting this set up in a slightly better fashion. So, if that's going to be the case, then I don't want to blast this out. I want to blast this out. So, seeing that, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to come over here with a suspension bridge at the correct level, which is not that. Get this path taken out, although I probably didn't have to take it out. You know how this goes. Just get this situated there. Everything connected. So now we're going to have access over here to begin the process of getting into this area. If a bit haphazardly, and dynamiting all of this down. This is, how tall? That is 6. So that's 3 entire, why did I say 3? 6 entire heights of dynamite, which is 2 triples. Friends, I fear my brain may be rebelling against me. Again, what else is new? But life goes on. We don't need to have any more logs. We already have way too many logs, so I'm just going to say sayonara to all these trees. We do have access with a ladder here that we can go ahead and connect. This previously connected across here with this zipline station, but that obviously is no longer going to be a viable solution. So probably should go ahead and move that zipline station. I guess if I can figure out here, I'll go here. And then we can just remove that entirely and then connect to this guy. That's going to make this process a whole lot quicker because then we have easy dirt access here. The dynamite access, I guess technically from here, although I do have another one of them stored over in this area that we do need to continue working with. So I guess that is fine. I'm going to go ahead and, since this is, yeah, it's got all of its metal blocks, I guess I can kind of justify putting in another one of these metal platforms now. Here. Get that queued up. We had some silly billies. I don't know if you noticed during the time lapse, so I'm going to try to, you know, prevent that by building these two first, so nobody's tempted to be dumb. But we only have 1.6 days for the end of the bad tide. Probably should have gotten this done a little bit quicker. But you know how it goes. Stuff just takes time. I'm going to put that double dynamite there just to get things started. And I suppose, yeah, you know, it's not really going to be a fast process to continue expanding this, but it is what it is. This is 5 here anyway. I know I can continue working on this without it being a tremendous issue because I can just come in here and build all of that like so, and then come in and do the rest. Just trying to get something accomplished with the limited amount of beaver resources that I've got. With the limited amount of time in this episode that I've got, too. Try to keep these moving. So, where does that leave us now? We do have vertical farming started, and they have started picking the sunflowers. The wheat is still growing. Going to take a couple more days. But I think this is a tremendous start. Lots and lots of cool stuff going on here. This is actually just about ready to be fully taken care of here. I will probably have to do the rest of this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not next episode. We might still have a little bit of time. I keep looking at OBS and I see that it says 57 minutes and whatever seconds now. And then I forget that we already did a time lapse, so the number's actually much, much smaller than that by at least several minutes. So I don't have to worry about things going on too terribly long. These guys just build at the, you know, the speed of smell, or perhaps glacial melt. But I do want to, I want to get something, one of these big, quote-unquote, big projects fully accomplished before we move on to do too much of anything else. So that's what we're going to end up doing here in the final hours of day 32 as we move into cycle 22. Remember, we could have as few as 3, 4, 5 days of clean water coming out. So if I'm going to do any construction in here, it's going to have to be soon. And of course, we want to have any additional capacity in here that we possibly can. But we do now have storage for almost twice as much water as we did when we started this episode, so that is tremendous news. This is ready to go. So now, oh no, the clean water is going off the edge of the map. How are you going to solve that problem? Well, all we got to do is put in the sluices. Oh no, but you put it down too far and now all the water is going away. Well, you know, we have a solution to that problem as well. And that is, come over here, build the stairs, and stop whining about it. So that's gonna be what it's gonna be. And then all I got to do here is do the same thing. I don't need 3 wide, but you remember the talk we had about, I really don't want to mess up and make a stupid mistake, because that's oftentimes how it goes. So, you know, barring any sort of actual better solution at this point in time, this is how I will leave that. Turn off this blasted setting. Close below contamination, 1%. Close above contamination, 1%. And just get this set up right there. And there you go. That's what they're going to be working on as we do our end of episode fun time here. You already know the drill. Beard boosters make it possible to keep doing all of this fun stuff. You have the insanity of, I guess, technically 4 or 5 active, quote-unquote, Timberborn series. The live streams we haven't gotten to for a long time, but they'll be coming back soon. But seriously, the support those folks give makes it possible to do all of this. I literally could not do it without them, so really, really appreciate that. And, of course, you here as well, even if you're not part of that. Just glad we get to spend a little bit of time with each other in these videos and focus a little bit more on just having a good time, playing with beavers, and enjoying each other's company. That's always something that I'm going to be a fan of. So, they're continuing to work on all this fun stuff. We are going to make a brief check of progress over here. And yeah, this is also incredibly slow. But what can you expect? We got all sorts of other stuff we got to worry about, and these guys aren't working because they are injured. Because we have this mine of madness taking up a whole bunch of our beavers. So let's pause this, just so they can have a chance of getting this taken care of. And we'll take one more look at this. Yeah, they still haven't gotten the metal platform put in. I think that's going to get solved pretty quick. But tremendous progress with this. I know it's probably frustratingly slow for some of you, but it just takes time. Just remember. And no, I did not forget, technically, because I caught it, that I'm going to have supports here for all of our next level. So, I sure hope my mute button worked for that enormous sneeze, but we're good. We're just going to conveniently unplant these and pretend like I did that correctly the first time. And just check on progress here, and hey, they're done. They're done. Very good. So, that's good to go. I'm going to remove the temptation of, you know, horrible bad water injury by disconnecting these paths in multiple places so that there can be absolutely no accidents. Yep, they can't reach it. Good. Problem solved. Get rid of all that garbage. And I think, friends, that is going to be a pretty good spot for us to go ahead and leave today. The dance hall is popping. They're having a good time dancing their worries away on top of all their food storage, because apparently that's a smart thing to be doing. And this does have a little bit more that we can go ahead and take care of before we find out if we have a bad tide or a drought coming, but that is going to be a next episode thing. I say as I do a little bit more blasting. And, oh, I should have done this one. Should have done that one first. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and detonate these little bits here, and then we're going to say goodbye, and we'll pick this back up on Tuesday. Oh, also, by the way, this was supposed to be yesterday's video, but I messed up and I recorded Apocalypse Mode instead, so that's why those are switched. I wasn't even thinking about it. It was like, oh man, I gotta make sure I record a video, because I had a super busy day on Friday. Like, oh man, I gotta record this video or I'm gonna miss a day and people are gonna be upset. So I sat down and I recorded Apocalypse Mode, and then I published the video at, I don't know, 2 in the morning. And then I thought, wait a minute, that was the wrong series. But nobody complained, so yeah, I guess that was fine. The Apocalypse Mode folks were always happy to see an update on that one, and people, of course, love this series as well. So, that's it, friends. As we wind down day 3, I guess maybe beginning of next video, we'll find out what fate awaits us for the rest of Cycle 22. Whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back again very soon for more of this series. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.